ready to drive your career, not just ride along? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm Simone E. Morris, your host and career strategist, here to give you the roadmap. Each week, we're cutting through the noise with strategies, stories, and insights to get you back in control. Your career clarity starts right here. Welcome to this week's episode of The Power of Owning Your Career. I'm your host, Simone E. Morris, and I am indeed delighted to be with you today. This week in the U.S., there is a holiday break that is all about gratitude. So I do want to take a moment to say thank you to listeners, not only in the United States, but across the world who continue to listen to the show, who are indeed interested in being in the driver's seat for their careers. I am grateful for you listeners. I'm also grateful for the guests that have come on the show this season and prior seasons as well. I was looking at my calendar, and believe it or not, audience, December 18th will make 7 years since I have been doing this podcast. And so much has changed in the last 7 years. We have over 200 episodes. You know, there's books like The Power of Owning Your Career, and which actually, let me backtrack. The Power of Owning Your Career book is what started this all. I actually started the podcast because I wrote the book, The Power of Owning Your Career, where I interview 14 leaders about what it takes to be in the driver's seat in their careers. And I really enjoyed listening to everybody's story. I thought it was fantastic. And so, shout out, or let me just pause, because when I was just talking about that, audience, it made me think about David Kim, who was a mentor to me and such a great human being. And he passed away, and he holds such a wonderful memory in my heart about somebody who is a mentor slash sponsor and the impact they have on you. I was really impressed by his integrity, who he was as a business person. When he said no, he did it with such finesse. I remember asking him to be on my advisory board, and he didn't have the time to do it. But the way he said no lifted me up so much that it didn't feel like a no. And so when I was just sharing about the book, I remembered him. And then also John Leahy, who was the former president of Quinnipiac University for a ton of years. When I was a student at Quinnipiac College before it became university, John Leahy was the president, and I interviewed him in the book. I mean, I loved the stories in The Power of Owning Your Career book, and I enjoyed the interview so much that is what caused me to start this podcast. So I'm going down memory lane and thinking about what I am indeed grateful for. And that was one of the things, because I was in a place where I felt it's important for people to know that they need to be intentionally proactive about owning their careers. Now, let me tell you a story. I was talking to my coach today, not today, what am I saying? Excuse me. I was talking to my coach recently. Shout out to Cynthia Nevels. And we were talking about stories, and I shared with her my why. Why is this driver's seat so important to me? You know, you can have that one moment in your career that you remember crystal clear. And I was telling her the story of how I was disappointed by not moving up in my career. I just felt stagnant. I felt like I wanted more. I wanted the organization to recognize me more. I wanted to be promoted. It wasn't happening. And I was in this space where I didn't feel appreciated. I just felt like I don't want to say wallpaper, but I just felt like I was there and I wanted more and I was complaining to my boss or demonstrating my frustration. And my boss said to me, Simone, your career is your responsibility. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because I, I was thinking that the organization was going to help me with my career. And it's not that they didn't, but I needed to be in the driver's seat and less hands off about how they helped me forward. So that was a game changing move in my career. It led to the moment of the power of owning your career book. It led to me talking about, wait a minute, what is my formula for owning my career? How do I do this thing? What's important? What are the key components that will help me to accelerate and ascend in my career? So that was the book. And then came the podcast back in 2018. I continue to enjoy the interviews with amazing guests that come on the show and share their stories. It is so inspiring. It's like a masterclass in career advancement. And the 52 tips for owning your career book came from just 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 growth in my career, where I had interviewed other leaders in the power of owning your career book. I'm interviewing leaders on the podcast, and of course I have a lot to say myself about what I have learned over the years as an executive career coach and as a podcaster and as someone who was not in the driver's seat for a long time. And so there came the 52 tips for owning your career book. I say all that to say, and by the way, at the end of this show, I will talk about the newest product in the series, which is the Owning Your Career course, which I am super duper excited about. Anyway, I have a lot of gratitude for my career, the experiences, the people that have supported me, encouraged me, cheered me on, because God knows being an entrepreneur is not an easy job. Let me say, I don't consider it a job to be an entrepreneur. It's not an easy passion. It's not an easy experience. You have to always work at it to be intentional about growing in your career. So I am grateful for all of you and for all the guests on the show, my family for supporting me, my coaches that I have along the way, and just the podcast because it has morphed who I am as a coach. It has allowed me to amplify my voice in a very deliberate way. So if you're ever thinking about a podcast in your career, it's a great opportunity. In the next year, I hope to do more. Not I hope, I will. That's the coach in me catching that language there. I will do more interviews where I'm getting out there and sharing my expertise. All right. So today, like I said, I want to talk to you about gratitude. I want to give you some tips for owning your career. And then I want to share with you our Owning Your Career course and how you can participate in that. It's game changing, and I'm excited about that course. All right, so tips for owning your career. I have been thinking about mindset. Let me go back to, I'm grabbing the 52 tips for owning your career book. You are watching online on our YouTube channel. You can see me holding the book. But anyway, I opened up the book and looking at the steps, I came up with 8 steps. I want you to know, audience, that at first it was 7 steps, but it has morphed into 8 steps over time, 8 steps for owning your career. And I interview all these leaders who have, some people say they don't have a formula, while other people have formulas and it's consistent with what other guests have said on the show. I do want to share with you my formula. So the 8 key steps for me is to claim it, audit, plan, perform, partner, promote, care, and celebrate. Let me say that again. Claiming your career, claiming that you deserve to be in the driver's seat in your career, doing an audit of your career body of work where you're really in tune with your strengths, your opportunities. What are the gaps? What are the gaps that are there? What are your aspirations? What are your values? Just a deep audit. and plan. I am a project man. I was about to say I'm a former project manager, but quite honestly, once a project manager, always a project manager. I was talking to one of my clients recently about the PMP certification, and that was a game-changing experience for me. I was the first one in my department to be certified as a PMP, and it meant a great deal to me. But you know what? I have taught project management. I used to teach project management at AMA, American Management Association, many, many years ago. And I continue to use the concepts of project management. So in the book and in the course, I mentioned something called a work breakdown structure. And you may not even think about it in owning your career or managing your career. But this is an important tool that helps you to really break down what you want in terms of goals in your career and how to get there, to help you create a roadmap. I'll talk more about that because we do go into a bit of depth in the course for you to do a work breakdown structure around your career. So planning is so important. Performing, you have to deliver, or you're not going to have sponsors, or you're not going to have work. So you have to deliver with excellence. Your leadership brand needs to be very consistent, and you need to be able to deliver. And it's not to say that you can't make a mistake, because you can. How you clean up the mistake really matters. I myself have bumbled and stumbled and fumbled, but I also rise. I rise because I am able to take in feedback. If I've missed the mark on some deliverable, I want clients to let me know that I've missed the mark, and I aim to fix it until a client is happy. So perform doesn't mean you make no mistakes. It means that if you do make a mistake in your career, your brand says, I'm gonna fix it, because I'm constantly developing, I'm constantly growing, and I appreciate you, person who've given me input on my performance, and I'm going to fix it. So performing is delivering with excellence, allowing yourself to be human and to make mistakes and to fix it along the way and to continue to rise. Then we have partner. Partner was something I did not know anything about I needed to know more about strategic partnerships in my career than I did. Strategic partnerships are so key to your growth, whether you're inside a Fortune 500 company or nonprofit, inside an organization, or whether you're an entrepreneur running your own business. Strategic partnerships are key to your career success. So I deem that as a very important part of this formula. All of these are important. Promote. If you stay quiet about your brand, no one's going to know about you, because everybody's busy and they're not stopping to think about you. So you have got to toot your own horn, or you've got to get if you have a style that says, oh my gosh, I'm so humble, I can't say anything that I do. You need to get over that. And it's hard. I don't like to say hard. Sometimes my daughter says that to me, and I'm like, let's see. And it can be hard, but it doesn't mean that we don't take action. For this tooting your own horn thing, there is a matter of dancing with discomfort, which I like to use a lot in language. Dancing with discomfort means I'm moving even though I'm uncomfortable. I'm saying, look what I did, even though I'm uncomfortable. So I want you to keep that in mind, that promoting your leadership brand, your career leadership brand, is very important. You need to talk about and remind people of your brilliance. And if you have a problem or a challenge starting to do that, take baby steps with that. And then also leverage other people to talk about what you're doing. The key is to not just remain silent, where people have to guess or find out in a performance review conversation that this is what you're able to do. I want you to be able to toot your own horn, and we talk about that in the 52 Tips for Owning Your Career book, as well as in the Owning Your Career course. They go into more detail about how do you talk about what you do, and where do you talk about it, and who do you talk about it to? Because that's important. Who do you talk about it to? So that is another step. And then care. This is one I've had to work on with time because I can have my foot on the gas pretty heavy when I'm driving the car, when I'm in the driver's seat in my career. And if I'm not careful, I don't take the time out to pour into me and to keep the car running with shout out to Kanika Tolver. I remember she was one of the early podcast interviews, and she was using analogies like premium gas. And I was like, oh, this is so good. So I always remembered that the premium gas is what you want in the car so that it can run efficiently and effectively and you can have the car for a long time, right? Same thing with who you are as a human being and filling yourself up, whether it is making space. And I have no problem saying this. I meet with my therapist regularly. If I had done that when I was in corporate America, I likely would be in a different place because there was a lot of career baggage that I had to process that I did not process in a good way. So I did that, post sabbatical. I got a coach. Actually, I had a coach before I took my sabbatical, and then also getting a therapist. Started out with the employee assistance program, and then moved into therapy. And therapy is just so necessary to clear the fog, the brain fog that can happen, to clear the hurts that can come along, whether it's a colleague who is less than kind to you, whether it's a manager who's not the best advocate for your career, or being passed over or being restructured out. Speaking of restructuring, there's so much restructuring going on. I saw the that Verizon laid off 13,000 people. I saw that recently. I was reading an article, and there's always restructuring, and it doesn't matter the time of year. So I want for you, audience who are listening, I want you to be proactive, intentional, owning your career, being in the driver's seat for your career. This is important stuff. I lived and breathed it. I I too sat in a place of discomfort, waiting for it to be my turn around the restructuring. I kept fearing it, but I wasn't proactively owning my career at the time. And that lesson stays with me today. That lesson stays with me as a coach, and it stays with me as a podcaster. It stays with me as an author. It stays with me as a human being. And my heart goes out to those people who have lost their job or been restructured into, less than ideal situations. When I think about the government and what's been happening there with the people and their jobs earlier this year, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I always say heal from your career experiences, because if you don't heal, that's traveling with you to wherever you go, wherever the next opportunity is. So you have to invest in healing, and that is something that I think about when I think about care. And we can, I go into it more in the book and in the course, but talking more about the importance of care, and of course celebrate is so important. Celebrate is stopping and pausing for acknowledgement and recognition of yourself and of your brilliance. Celebrate your success along the way, and do not wait for other people to clap, to give you a cake, to say, well done. You take the opportunity to say, well done. Well done, Simone. Well done. Well done, audience member. Well done. You did a great job on what you just did. Talk about it, celebrate it. And so, I'm thinking of Kool and the Gang. I should be playing the music. Kool and the Gang, celebration time. Come on. I've always loved that song, and I want you to celebrate yourself. So those are the 8 steps for owning your career. And the book 52 tips for owning your career goes into tips under each step for you. One of the first tips in the book is claim. Mindset is so important for your career. You have to have the mindset that your career is your responsibility. Because as soon as you think someone owes you something, or that they're going to take care and make sure that you ascend to that C-suite position or whatever position it is you aspire to, then you're in trouble there, my friend. No one owes you anything. You are your priority. Even if you are on the bottom of your list, let's work on moving you up to the top of your list, and let's work on taking intentional steps to thrive, not just survive your career. And this is what this podcast is about. This is what my body of work is about as an executive career coach with over 800 hours. I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a while. This is what I talk about in the book, 52 Tips for Owning Your Career. This is what I talk about in my new course, Own Your Career. I am so excited about it. It is about excelling in your career. It is about owning your career. It is about being in the driver's seat for your career. And so undoubtedly, like I said, when I wrote The Power of Owning Your Career, it was like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. I've got to share more. And that's what the podcast is about. And so now the podcast is here, and I've got the book, 52 Tips to Owning Your Career, but it's like, what is next? There's got to be more. I've got to help people more. I'm coaching, but there's a lot of people, and this podcast is listened to globally. I do coach globally as well. But, I am one person, and I want to help many. I want to help many. And so therefore, here comes the latest iteration, the latest, I want to say invention, but innovation, the latest product. I am thrilled. I am so thrilled to put this product out there. It is launching officially on Friday, November 28th, which in the US is Black Friday. If you are on our mailing list, you'll be getting communications, maybe even early communications on how to access the course. So do sign up for our mailing list. I'll be sure to put that in the show notes. I'll also put a link to the career course. And if you go to my website, the SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org, and you click on career course, you will be linked to signing up for the course. So again, I am thrilled to be bringing this new help, this new hub that is undoubtedly going to grow into something even more magical. And I hope that you will support me on this, because we all need support. I talk about partner as a step in the 8-step framework for owning your career. Partnering and supporting one another as we ascend together is important. And if you've benefited from any content on this podcast, I hope you will support me by picking up my books or purchasing the course. That's important. That continues the innovation, that continues the pouring into, and we help one another. The course has a group in it where we can have conversations about what's happening in your career, and it has access where you can have a one-on-one session with me if you choose to do so. So I'm thrilled for what's next on this journey. I go back to the beginning of the show where I was talking about gratitude. Audience, I have gratitude for you. Thank you for being with me for the last 7 years. Over 200, I want to say 215 or more episodes of the show. Thank you, guests, for joining me. And it's been my pleasure to come and show my face. If you go on YouTube, our channel, you can definitely see my face doing this podcast live, but you can also listen to where you listen to the podcast. You can listen to the audio version. Again, you have my gratitude, and thank you for being a loyal listener. If you just started, we've got lots of episodes for you to go back and listen to. And trust me, your career is going to change based on what our guests have said over the years. So thank you so much for listening, and be well. Until the next time, this is your host, Simone E. Morris, signing off. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And don't forget to own your career, everybody. That's it for today's empowering episode. I'm Simone E. Morris, and I want you to remember that you are indeed the architect of your career. Share this episode if it sparked something in you. Subscribe wherever you listen and find more resources at SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org. Keep practicing career ownership, and I'll be right here with you next week for more transformation.